It's time for the big one. It's Hikaru Nakamura representing the Fire's American Gambits taking on Vishy Anand from the Ganges Grandmasters at the Tech Mahindra Global Chess League in Mumbai. Hikaru has had quite a good score against Vishy historically but has immense respect for him. He's often quoted on the internet saying Vishy has been responsible for the huge boom in Indian chess. And now we are ready for the clash. A handshake, the arbiter starts the clock, and Hikaru opens with knight to f3. Vishy plays his pawn to d5. Pawn comes up to e3 here. And then he goes knight to f6, pawn to c4, and e6 played here. Hikaru brings his knight out to c3 and Vishy plays his pawn to b6. You have b3. One of the things when you face Vishy is that he's not going to do anything ultra creative in the opening. He's going to play his simple, strong chess in the center, and that's what he believes in. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn, and now a bishop b5 check. Vishy pushes his pawn to c6, blocking the check, and the bishop comes back to e2. Black castles and white castles as well. Could be interesting to just complete the development here, knight d7, and then later play c5. He goes queen to c2 and Vishy plays his rook to e8. And now rook to c1 and bishop to d6. Queen goes back to b1, but you can already feel it that black's position is very, very nice. Knight to e5. He's trading off one pair of knights. Queen goes to a1 on the long diagonal here. And Hikaru Nakamura quickly is putting pressure here on Vishy, but Vishy has a fantastic position. He brings his rook to c8. Hikaru plays his rook to e1. Very little moves. These are knight takes f3, bishop f3, and now knight to e4 is a very strong move. He goes bishop f8. Slightly surprising because you had your bishop on this wonderful diagonal. Why would you want to bring it back? Pawn to d3 by Hikaru. He's trying to keep it as flexible as possible, and Vishy brings his knight to d7. He wants to come to e5 to attack f3. Knight goes to e2. And queen comes into g5. The queen is well positioned, putting pressure here. The knight can jump into e5 now, but he goes knight f4. And Vishy Anand now has to continue here. He plays his knight to e5. Bishop drops back. And knight comes back to g6. I love the stability with which Vishy is playing. Knight takes knight is met with queen takes. So he goes back knight h3, attacking the queen. You can see that players are looking at each other's games because the broadcast is not working. Queen h4, bishop f1. And now pawn to c5 with the idea of unleashing this bishop on this diagonal with d4. Hikaru is kind of shaking his head. He's unhappy. Sindarov has just beaten Richard Rapport. That's a big news for Ganges. g3. played. He goes queen h5, bishop g2, bishop a6, queen b1, and d4. He comes knight f4, takes, and rook a d8. Now queen comes up to c2. You can already sense it that Vishy has a great position because this bishop on b2 is blocked by black pawns. Queen d2, Hikaru trying to make simple natural moves. Bishop h3 offering a trade of bishops. Takes on e8. Rook takes on e8. Rook e1 played. And now Anand can take on e1. But he can also, he can take on e1, queen e1, and then bishop f5 to attack d3, but he goes bg2. Very interesting move. If you take on e8, then there is bishop c6 followed by queen f3. So he takes back, queen check, f3 played, and now queen d5. So f3 needs to be played to block the check. And Vishy brings his rook up to e6. And Hikaru brings his rook up to e4, f5 played, hitting the rook. Takes rook e2. And pawn to b5. King comes to f2. And Vishy is just trying to be solid. He has some trumps here. He can try to break open the position with c4 at some point. But it's not so easy. King f7. So goes bishop c1. Rook takes rook. Queen takes. And now queen e6. The point is, if you trade queens, this would be a huge edge to black with king d5 and c4 coming in. So that's the reason why he keeps the queens. Bishop e7. And Hikaru goes queen a5, trying to infiltrate into the black camp. But queen comes to c6. And now queen e1. Bishop f6 played. And there's just no entry down the e file. So Hikaru, although he has the queen well positioned, can't get in. He also doesn't want to trade queens, so he keeps it. For Vishy, there's no clear way to make progress. Bishop d2. King e8 played. Goes bishop c1, king d7. And a4 played. Hitting the queen side structure. King e8. And AB. The queen goes to a2. And Vishy goes king f7. Bishop d2 played. And Vishy starts playing on the king side as well. Some pressure for Hikaru. Should he go h4? No, he waits. He's hoping that Vishy will take some rash decision here. And Vishy pushes forward with h4. Bishop d2, maybe even h3 can be played here. I mean, black, if wants to try, can definitely try here. Queen d5, and as soon as Vishy offered a draw, Hikaru was ready with his hand stretched out, because a draw is an excellent result. Meanwhile, I must say, Vishy played brilliantly in the opening, gave no chance to his opponent, and was really, really epic You can see that from this position he went knight g6, and then he played c5, and when the bishop came here he got his bishop out and pushed d4. It's a very cool move, because if pawn takes pawn, you go pawn takes pawn, and then let's say I take bishop d4, then this is already great compensation, maybe with rook d8 and trying to put pressure on d3. So Hikaru didn't even touch the d4 pawn, he just went knight f4, and this was already a very good position for black. Vishy could have pressed a bit better, but in the end he was unable to, and the game ended in a draw. But the game match is tremendously tense here between the two teams. We hope that you enjoyed the battle between two greats of the chess game at present.